Hey everyone, and welcome. You've probably wondered how some websites just magically pop up at the top of Google, right? Well, it's not magic. It's actually a super powerful strategy called search engine optimization, or SEO for short. And look, if you want your website, your blog, or your business to get found by anyone, you've got to understand this stuff. So let's dive right in.
So picture this. You've poured your heart and soul into building this amazing website. The content is top-notch, you hit publish, and then nothing. Just crickets. It's so frustrating, right? And it's a super common problem. You're sitting there thinking, why isn't anyone finding me? Well, the answer, almost every single time, comes down to SEO.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to build a little roadmap. First, we'll cover the foundation. What even is SEO? Then we'll get into the motivation, why it matters so much. After that, the real meat, the 5-pillar blueprint for SEO success. We'll also touch on some tools and best practices and finish up by talking about the long game. Sound good? Let's go.
All right, first things first, let's build that foundation. Before we get into any of the fancy stuff, we need to get crystal clear on what we're even talking about. What is SEO? Okay, in the simplest terms, search engine optimization is all about making your website more attractive to search engines, like Google. The whole point is to get your site to show up higher in the search results when people are looking for what you've got. And the key word here is organic. This means you're not paying for ads. You are earning that top spot because Google believes you have the best answer to that person's question.
Okay, so now we know what it is. But why does it matter? Why should you spend any time on this? Well, before we get into the how-to, the nuts and bolts of it all, let's talk about the why. Because honestly, the payoff for getting this right is huge.
I mean, the benefits are just massive. For starters, good SEO makes you visible to the exact people who are already looking for you. It's a game changer. And of course, more visibility means more website traffic. But it's more than that. When you show up high on Google, it automatically builds credibility and trust. People just assume you're an authority. Plus, it's the perfect partner for your content marketing. And this is a big one. A solid SEO strategy actually makes your website better and easier to use for everyone.
So, the big question is, how do we actually do it? How do we practice SEO? Well, I want you to think of it like building a house. We're going to construct it on 5 essential pillars. And just like a real building, if one of these pillars is weak, the whole thing gets wobbly. But if you get all 5 right, you'll build something seriously strong and built to last.
Okay, pillar number 1, keyword research. Seriously, everything starts right here. I love this saying, before you can be the answer, you have to know the question. And that's exactly what keyword research is. It's all about figuring out the exact words and phrases your target audience is typing into that Google search bar.
It's kind of like being a detective. Your job is to find out what people are looking for. Then you have to figure out how many people are looking for it. We call that search volume. And finally, you have to see how tough the competition is, like how many other websites are trying to answer that same question. This whole process becomes the roadmap for all the content you create.
All right, let's move on to our second pillar, which is on-page SEO. Just like the name suggests, this is all the stuff you do directly on your own web pages. The whole goal here is to make your content super clear and easy to understand, not just for search engines, but for your human readers too.
Think of these things as little signposts for Google. Your title tag, that's the big blue headline you see in the search results. It's your first impression. The meta description is that little summary right below it, the text that convinces you to actually click. Headings, like H1s and H2s, they're like chapters in a book. They organize everything. And alt text, that's just a simple description for your images. It's all about making your page super easy to digest, both for people and for Google.
Okay, on to pillar number 3. Technical SEO. Now, this is all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, under the hood of your website. I like to think of it as the plumbing and foundation of your house. I mean, if the foundation's got cracks, it doesn't really matter how great the furniture is, right? So what does that mean in practice? Well, your site has to, absolutely has to, work perfectly on a phone. It also needs to load super fast. Nobody waits around anymore. You need that little padlock icon, that secure HTTPS connection to build trust. And then there's something called an XML sitemap, which is literally just a map of your website that you give to search engines to help them find their way around.
All right, pillar number 4 is called off-page SEO. And this one is interesting because it takes us completely off of our own website. This is all about building your reputation out there on the wider internet. A great way to think about it is it's what other people are saying about you when you're not in the room.
Now, the biggest piece of this puzzle is something called backlinks. So we know internal links connect pages on your own site. Backlinks are different. They're links from other people's websites pointing back to you. And you can't just make these yourself. You have to earn them by creating awesome stuff. Every single backlink you get from a respectable site is like a vote of confidence in Google's eyes, telling it that you're a trustworthy source of information.
And that leads us perfectly into our fifth, final, and you could argue the most important pillar of all, content quality. Honestly, this is the one that holds all the others up. Because here's the bottom line. All the technical tricks, all the keyword research in the world, it means absolutely nothing if your content isn't actually good. Your number one goal has to be to satisfy what we call user intent. All that means is giving the person searching exactly what they came for as quickly and clearly as possible.
Okay, so we've got our 5-pillar blueprint. Now let's get practical. Let's put some tools in your toolbox and talk about the best practices, the actual habits that are going to make a real difference.
So here are 6 best practices you should just bake into everything you do. Number 1, make sure your site is mobile friendly. 2, make it fast. 3, keep it secure with HTTPS. 4, regularly update your content, keep it fresh. 5, and this is a big one, avoid keyword stuffing. Just don't cram your keyword in everywhere it doesn't sound natural, right for humans. And finally, number 6, monitor your performance. You gotta know what's working.
The good news is you don't have to do all this in the dark. There are some incredible tools out there to help. The absolute must-haves are Google Analytics and Google Search Console. They're both free, and they're essential for tracking your traffic and your site's health. For more advanced stuff, like deep keyword research, you've got tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush. And hey, if your site is on WordPress, a plugin like Yoast SEO is basically non-negotiable.
Okay, let's wrap up with a quick chat about mindset, because this is really important. It is so tempting to look for a quick fix or a magic bullet with SEO, but I'm telling you, that's just not how this works. You really have to be in it for the long game.
And really, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. SEO is not a set it and forget it task. It's not a box you check off once. It is an ongoing process. You're constantly creating, measuring, learning, and tweaking. Success comes from consistent, patient effort over time. It is absolutely a marathon, not a sprint.
So there you have it. We've laid out the entire blueprint, we've looked at the tools, the only thing left to do is to actually start building. So I'll leave you with this question. After everything we've talked about today, what is the very first step you're going to take to get your website seen?